To optimize your camera for taking pictures of kids and pets or fast-moving subjects, I recommend using the shutter priority mode. You might need to use the flash, in which case you'll want to know about flash exposure compensation. You'll want to set the proper drive mode, possibly change your focus point, set the ISO, and as always, set the proper white balance. Let's get started by setting the shutter priority mode. Turn the mode dial to TV. This stands for time value, and what this does is allow you to set the proper shutter speed you want while the camera sets an appropriate aperture to result in a well-exposed image. The shutter speed is displayed down here, and you can use the front dial on the camera to adjust this setting. The front dial is located right here, and you can see that I can change the shutter speed this way. Now it recommends starting with a shutter speed of about 1/250th of a second. This should certainly be fast enough to stop the action of your subject. Before you continue though, you want to make sure that you have enough light to support this kind of shutter speed. What you want to do is press the shutter button halfway to see what the camera selects as the proper aperture. In my case, it's f1.8. It's also in white instead of red, which means the final image will be properly exposed. If you're in a low light situation, you might need to use the flash. Go ahead and pop the flash by using the flash switch right here. Now press the flash button or the right navigation button to access the flash function, and use the control dial to choose the flash on. Make sure flash is not still turned off. Even though the flash is popped up, doesn't necessarily mean the flash is not turned off in the function and the camera will automatically use it. So make sure this is turned on. If you're going to use the flash, you'll want to know about the flash exposure compensation. Press the function button right here to access the camera's function menu. Then use the up and down navigation buttons to choose the flash exposure compensation function right there. Now you can use the control dial to adjust this setting. I recommend taking your first picture with this setting set to 0. That way you'll know if the flash strength needs to be increased or decreased. Once you have this properly set, go ahead and press set to escape. Keep in mind that by using the camera's flash, you're going to drastically slow down the camera's lag time, which means even though I've pressed the shutter button halfway to ready the camera and lock focus, if I press the button the rest of the way, it'll still take a little bit before the picture is taken. So if timing is very critical with your scene, I would recommend not using the flash and maybe just increasing the ISO to brighten up the subject. Now let's go ahead and set the drive mode. Press the function button again to access the function menu. Go up to the drive mode function and choose the continuous drive mode. Then press set. What this will do is allow you to press the shutter button and hold it down so the camera can continuously take pictures as you're tracking the subject. Again, with this drive mode function set, you really don't want to use the flash because that'll drastically slow down the time between the different pictures. Now let's go ahead and set the ISO. Press the ISO or up navigation button right here, and then use the control dial to set this. In most cases, I recommend choosing the auto ISO because the camera will really do a good enough job choosing the proper ISO for you. However, if you're in a slightly low lit situation, in order to maintain a fast enough shutter speed for fast moving subjects, you may need to choose an ISO higher than 1600. As you can see, the auto ISO can select any ISO between 80 and 1600. But you might need to set 3200 for example. In those cases, clearly auto ISO will not be good enough. Go ahead and press set to escape. Finally, let's choose the proper white balance. Press the function button again to access the function menu. Use the up and down navigation buttons to choose the white balance function and the control dial to choose the right option within this function. If you're outdoors in the sun, go ahead and choose daylight. If it's a shady situation, you can use cloudy to warm up the tones a bit, or if you're indoors, you can choose tungsten or fluorescent. Choose the right white balance for your scene, and then press set to escape. Now you're almost ready to take your picture. Since your subject is moving pretty fast, what you can't do is place the focusing square over the subject, press the shutter button halfway to lock focus, and then recompose. You're going to be constantly tracking the subject with the camera, so what you need to do is move the focusing square to where you want the subject to be in your frame. Press the Autofocus Select button right here, and use the navigation buttons to move this around. Let's say I know I want my subject right here in the top left corner. If your subject is a bit farther away, you can press the menu button to change the focus point to a slightly smaller point. Press the menu button again to go back to the standard size focus point. Go ahead and press the Autofocus Point Selection button again to escape. You'll notice to quickly move the focusing square back to the center, just press and hold the Autofocus Select button. Now you're officially ready to take the picture. Place the focusing square over the subject. If your subject is moving, you can go ahead and track them. Press the shutter button halfway to lock focus on the subject. Now with the focus locked, you can track the subject as they're moving, and then when they're in position, press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the shot.